Hey guys, I just wanted to do another update on my Singer 111-153 machine. My last video, well, if you've been following this whole mess, I've been just chasing one issue after another, but the last video I actually showed you guys, I actually got it to work to some extent. It wasn't correct, so of course, I couldn't leave that alone, and what I did was I went back to one of the manuals that I have downloaded, and I wanted to just follow this as best as I can, which was not seemingly correct to what I had it set at. So they were kind of conflicting from what I could understand of it. So right here, the feed and the feed dog, it was basically feeding backwards, or at least close to it. So over here, feeding backwards, feed lifting cam out of spline, feed driving eccentric out of spline, presser lifting eccentric out of time, timing collar out of spline. And the remedy is basically reset in spline, time eccentric, reset in spline, and retime the machine. So basically all of these needed to be in the spline. So what that means and why I changed it, and it's actually back to square one, it's not feeding at all. You can kind of see what it's doing. It's kind of, it almost looks like it's going backwards. So if I could show you the underneath piece, I'll kind of explain what I did and why I did it. And I just wanted to touch base on the other video comment that I had. I can't think of his name offhand. He just made a video. I've been emailing him back and forth, and he made a nice video for me. I just can't, his name is I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, he was mentioning maybe the clutch was 180 degrees backwards. His machine is in fact different than my machine. However, the feet mechanisms kind of work similar. So anyway, I just wanted to show maybe him and you guys what that means. On this machine, at least, this mechanism is actually what it either opens up or closes depending on your stitch length. So this is your stitch length adjuster, essentially. On this machine, if you had a clutch, safety clutch on it, it is actually this whole pulley. This whole pulley is part of the clutch mechanism. This machine doesn't have it, and I believe in stock form this model does not have it. It would be right here. It replaces this whole wheel, comes off, and it replaces this whole wheel, and the clutch mechanism is inside this wheel here, or a part of this pulley. So at some point I'd like to upgrade to that, because I think that's an obvious thing that you would want. Anyway, back to the main issue. So if you're following this, feed lifting cam out of spline. Okay, so now best I can understand it, the feed lifting cam is this guy here. Okay, it is in fact a cam, kind of looks lopsided. So I put it back in the spline. What that means is there's a set screw here, there's a spline here. Typically the set screw goes onto the spline to prevent whatever it is you're holding from spinning or rotating off of the axle. So it basically tells it needs to be in this location, which it is. Okay, as soon as I did that, everything got mixed up. Okay, so that is the feed lifting cam. Okay, so now that's correct according to this. Reset in spline, that's what I did. Feed driving eccentric out of spline, reset in spline. The feed driving eccentric I do believe, is this. This is the feed drive, and this is the eccentric. This is what creates your stitch length, smaller or bigger. If you can watch this mechanism, it's sort of like a little, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's, you know, it looks lopsided. That's the eccentric part. So the bigger movement you have, the longer the stitch is. The lower the amount that this is opened, or the closer it is, it basically doesn't move at all. All right, so I have it on the biggest setting right there, so I could see the movement pretty well. All right, so now one of my parts where I didn't understand was it says it's out of, you know, feed drive eccentric out of spline, reset in spline. Okay, if you look over here, there really is no obvious spline that you can see on this part. Okay, there's one here, but you can't tell if it carries through underneath here. Now there's a set screw here and a screw here. So I was thinking, okay, well maybe this is in line, so maybe that's pinching, you know, that. All right. This collar also has 2 pinch bolts, which you would think maybe one would be in the spline, but this one in fact does not sit on here. It actually sits on a part of this. All right, so that kind of goes out of the equation. But as you can see, set screw, spline, so it's pinching on the spline. Another thing that's a little confusing is if you don't know any better, there's 2 screws, okay? Which one are you supposed to use to put in the spline? There is no indication as to which one needs to be here. If you had no idea, there's no way of telling, you know? It doesn't make sense. You would think it would be arrowed or something, whatever, a notch, but there's not, at least from what I could see. So anyway, in order to accomplish what this is telling me, reset in spline, what I did was I loosened this collar, took it off. I loosened this whole mechanism. You know, I kept these plates together. I loosened this whole thing by set screw and set screw, and I moved it. I moved it all the way over to here to see if there was a spline under here somewhere, and there was. Okay. It was not in line with that. That would make too much sense. So I marked it right there. I don't know if you can see my little mark. All right, so the spline goes this way. Or maybe I'm wrong, actually. Hold on, what the hell? Let me see here. Yeah, okay. You know what? I'm going to do this on camera because something's not making sense to me, because you would think, according to that paper, it says put the set screw into the spline. Well, here's a set screw. It's not lining up with my mark. Here's another set screw. It's not lining up with my mark. So I think I maybe messed this up, and I maybe shifted it off of the spline. All right, so while you're watching, I'm going to loosen, and I'm going to line this set screw up with this mark, because that is where the set screw is. All right, so let's give that a shot. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm loosening that. Loosening that. There you go. So now I felt it go. There's a spline. So now this is lined up with that. I'm going to tighten that down. Tighten that down. Alright, so you saw what I did. I basically rotated this so that this screw was in line with the spline. All right, so now according to this paper, reset in spline, I just did that. Now it says pressor lifting eccentric out of time. Time eccentric. Pressor lifting eccentric. See, I am not familiar with what that is. Timing collar out of spline. Timing collar, I'm not really sure what that means either. So anyway, let's see. I'm going to just drop this down. See if that made any difference at all. So as you can see, it's still not right. It's so it's not coming all the way forward, it's dropping like before it comes all the way forward. Another little deceiving thing is, and I watched some other videos, and I guess this is still okay, but you know, you see this little gap here, and you would think that if it was adjusted correctly, this feed dog should come all the way to the front and move all the way to the back. That seems to be not the case. It seems to be okay that there's a little bit of a gap there. At least that's what I'm seeing on some other machines, on some videos. I don't know, maybe they're not correct either. But. So anyway, I went from sort of having it working to following the directions, and now it actually doesn't really work at all, back to square one. So I don't know, man. I'm pretty thoroughly confused. It's I hate to think I'm making it worse every time I touch something, but it seems to be maybe I'm making it worse. I don't know. And another question is, when you're adjusting the stitch length, they say look in the window, which that's the window, and the stitch length really only goes up to 8 on this machine. If that's the case, why is there all the way up to 32? It's numbered all the way up to 32, starts at 5, and it goes all the way up to 32. Why does that go up so high if your stitch length really can only go up to 8? Don't get it. Anyway, thanks. I'll pass this link around, and hopefully maybe somebody out there could help me out again. Thank you. Bye bye.